with the COVID, excuse me, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
Well, he's right. He did beat Medicare. He beat it to death.
Total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which, frankly, they didn't. That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
President Biden, you've approved $4.3 trillion in new debt. So former President Trump...
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed with the progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
And by the way, we created 15,000 new jobs. We have 1,000 trillionaires in America. I mean, billionaires in America.
Because they spent money like a bunch of people that didn't know what they were doing, and they don't know what they were doing.
Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
Because we worked very hard, $500 million, billion dollars, I should say.
And the country is now coming together on this issue. It's been a great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing.
Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I supported Roe v. Wade. They don't want to screw around with us. The cleanest water? He hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, he just doesn't know what he's talking about. I've never heard so much foolishness. This is a guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO.
During my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
I don't know where the hell he's been. We significantly increased the number of asylum officers. Significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed me.
According to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that, but they endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him.
My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans. This whole question that you're asking, complex, but not really complex. I'm friends with a lot of people.
Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. I'm so glad this came up, and he brought it up. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation.
And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed 3 people. I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much.
Would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, no, you know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. We're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know, because he's done all these great things that we did, and I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. They should go to jail for that. If a Republican did that, they'd go to jail.
Thank you, President.
So he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. He made up the Charlottesville story, and you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every reasonable anchor has debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked.
President Biden?
And debunked. It happened.
Almost every police group in the nation from every state is supporting Donald J. Trump. almost good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New scam, and including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. I heard him say before, insulin. I'm the one that got the insulin down for the seniors because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border.
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is.
The worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. 59 or 58, don't hold me the exact number.
And driven them up to a very high level because the people understand it.
Well, let's see what your numbers are when this election is over.
He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards.
What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities to serve?
Well, I took 2 tests, cognitive tests. I aced them because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. This man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. Let's not act like children.
You are a child.
Will you pledge tonight that once all legal challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable?
Well, I shouldn't have to say that. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. But the only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again.
We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody.
It was the worst, probably the worst administration in history. We had the safest border in the history of our country.
We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history. American history.
We had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. We had the safest border in history.
No president's ever spoken like that before. No president in our history has spoken like that before. The fact of the matter is there are more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history.
I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He is the worst in history by far. The worst presidency in the history of our country. We shouldn't be having a debate about it. There's nothing to debate.